Hi guys, welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to show you how I'm going to work on this storage ottoman. I'm going to be gluing all four sides first, and then I'm going to staple it with the nail gun, then screw it down. So this piece I'm using would be for the base, so I can attach the legs. Putting this wood on the other side as well. So right now I'm going to mark where the hinge is on the lid, and I'm going to put the T-nut. Once I'm done marking it on both sides, I'm going to drill the hole. Now that the hole is drilled out already, I'm going to be putting the T-nut, 2 of it on either sides. On the side of the box, I'll be drilling 2 holes and adding T-nut as well, so it makes it a lot stronger when we're screwing it in. So once I'm done putting the hardware that I need for this ottoman, I'm going to be gluing the foam on the sides. I'm letting the foam stick up a little higher so it wraps around the top area, so it doesn't give it a hard feel to it. So on the edge here, I'll be gluing the foam and the wood together so it gives it a nice soft feel still to it. Once everything is glued in place, I'm going to shave off the top a tiny bit just so it has some padding. When I'm putting the fabric on, I'm making sure all the corners are lined up first before I staple it down. Right now, I want to make sure everything lines up nicely first with the grain, so I'm going to staple it down with an angle. Even on the bottom here, I'm still checking, making sure everything still looks clean and lined up. So I'm going to staple the gun on an angle as well. Now that everything looks nice and clean, I'll be removing the staples I put in earlier, and I'm going to staple it down. So on the inner side, I still have to put fabric, so I'm stapling the fabric low so you don't see my staple marks. As I'm stapling the fabric along the sides, I'm making sure the grain is still consistent. So this is the bottom side. I just flipped it upside down, and I'm stapling it looking at the grain as well. So because this fabric is striped, you want to make sure you're very consistent on the material grain, or else you're going to see the wave marks. So on the corners, I like to cut off the stitching area first, makes it a lot less bumpy, and then I'm going to fold one side and then the other side on top of it. The reason why I like to cut all the materials out from the corners is so when I put the legs on, it's not as wobbly. So most of the time you have a lot of leftover fabric on the corners, and it makes it hard to screw in the legs sometimes. So if you could take off the fabric, you might as well do it. So on the side of the top lid, I'm gluing foam on it. After that, I'll be putting the foam on top. The foam doesn't have to stick out so much, it could be even with the wood. So most importantly, when I'm working on the top foam, I want to make sure I glue enough on the edge so it doesn't move. So I like to make sure I put the foam on first, and then I cut it to size with the frame. It makes it a lot faster than cutting the foam first and then gluing it on the frame. What I used on top of the foam was a fiber. It gives it a nice soft feel to it. Once I'm setting up the material, I'm locking all the 4 corners first, and then I go the inner sides. Now that everything looks good to me, I'm going to remove all the staples that I locked in before and staple it down. So on the corner here, I'm going to cut off the stitching area a little bit so it makes it a lot easier to staple it down. Any leftover fabric I'm going to cut out, and then I'm just going to staple the other side on top of it. It makes it less bumpy. So now I'm stapling the fabric on the lid area. And then after that, I'll be using cardboard so it gives it a nice clean line to it. I'm stapling the thin layer of fiber pretty much in the middle of the cardboard. So I'm using this tacking strip for 3 sides so you don't see the staple marks when I close it off. This is pretty sharp, so you don't want to poke yourself. I'm just cutting out the extra fabric so it's easy to fold underneath it. It's not as bumpy. So starting it is probably the most important part. You want to make sure it's right. So you want to keep doing this all the way down, making sure it's lined up with the wood. So this part I'm gluing with the fiber is pretty much the base of the inside. Most of the things I do, I always like to put a few staples locking the fabric in place. After that, I staple it down. The corner here gets a little thick if you don't cut off the fabric, so I'm just going to cut off as much as possible, and then I'm just going to staple it down. So the inner part here, I'm stapling it down, and then I'm going to put cardboard. Once I'm done putting the cardboard in place, I'm going to be stapling a thin layer of fiber, just pretty much halfway where the cardboard is. Right now I'm just going to staple the fabric low enough so when I put the base on, you won't see the staples. So now I'm just going to drop in the base, making sure everything looks nice and clean as well still. Now I'm just screwing the screws in with the holes I drilled in earlier. So I'm installing the lid on top like this. It makes it a lot easier if you just stand it up. Now I'm just installing the springs. It helps if you use a string to pull it. So once I'm done installing it, I want to make sure everything works well and fits well. So lastly, I'll be putting the dust cover to finish off the piece. So thank you for watching it this far in the video. I really do appreciate it, and I hope I was helpful in this process.